This is the process shot. I'm Michael. I'm trapped in a movie theater, and I guess whatever's running this place heard me a while back and started queuing up Alfred Hitchcock movies. Today it's Blackmail, a 1929 suspense feature notable for being one of Britain's first films to feature sound. It focuses on Frank and Alice, a young couple whose love is tested when, after feeling ignored by Frank and his attention to his work at Scotland Yard, Alice begins secretly seeing another man. When that man attempts to assault Alice, she ends up stabbing him in self-defense and runs off, accidentally leaving evidence of her presence behind at the scene. That evidence is found by Frank, who has been assigned to the murder case, and a man named Tracy, a local criminal who also witnessed Alice leaving the artist's flat that night. He ends up taking advantage of the situation, and it's up to Frank and Alice to figure out how to get him off their back. That's actually the first 2/3 of the movie right there, pretty much. Yeah, the movie takes its time in setting everything up, and as a result, it's a hell of a slow ride. It's not the kind of slow build-up to a tense scene of suspense, either. It's just slow. Things are happening, but it's happening in real time. Granted, what goes on in these scenes do set up later plot points, but they still could have cut things down for time. I'm not sure if this pacing is a holdover from silent filmmaking rules or guidelines, but even so, I don't think it would have worked there. Either way, because the pacing of the film is so slow, the story suffers as a result due to there not being enough room to truly expand. Whenever one story beat is hit, they just move on to the next. Furthermore, whatever developments that the characters of Blackmail might receive ends up being cut back as well. What we get is enough to say that there are characters in the story, but they're flat. The only character who has any sort of arc is Alice, who ends up paying with guilt for her role in the man's murder. Even so, her guilt isn't treated with much weight, and it's generally shoved into the latter part of the film for the sake of having one last conflict. On a technical level, there isn't much to talk about either. Being an early sound feature, though, it's interesting to see how the filmmakers adapted to the new possibilities, though they seem to do so with a minimal touch. There is score and there are synchronous sounds, but for the most part they feel as though they just dubbed it in later over what was originally silent footage. The actual scenes with talking do feel live, but the trade-off there is that they lose all that background music or other sound effects. So, overall, there are certainly elements of Hitchcock's later stylistic choices that appear in Blackmail. However, it's only minimal and experimental, like a first draft as he continued to explore what would suit him. Beyond that, Blackmail is a bit of a chore to watch, with its lack of strong characters or a steady plotting. If you go in expecting at least some sort of suspense and tension, you're gonna come out disappointed. Blackmail. Alfred Hitchcock, 1929, 1.5 stars. If you're gonna marathon Hitchcock, then it's probably a good starter, but for a casual viewing, I wouldn't recommend it. That's the end of this review. Like and comment for the hell of it, and subscribe for more reviews. Here's hoping that the next Hitchcock film they send me is one of the good ones, or else I'm gonna have to get more specific in my requests.